What's going on, everybody? This is your man Abe-Unit, reporting live from the DMV. But you know what? That's enough for me. Today on the Abe-Unit Show, I have a special guest in the building. And we're going to start off with a quick intro before we dive too deep into the show. Let's go.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Eshun, and this is the Abe-Unit Show.
Eshun, software engineer consultant, real estate investor, WNBA enthusiast. We'll get into all that, but first, it is time for the warm-up. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, sir. Born ready.
Let's get it. What was your first job?
It was at a barbershop. I was sweeping hair and checking people in.
Thinking about lodging during your next vacation, what comes first to your mind, a hotel or Airbnb?
Airbnb always.
If you would own a real estate anywhere in the world, where would it be?
New York, Manhattan.
Something you're not good at, but would love to be great at.
Checking mail.
Checking mail?
Yeah. I always have like piles of mail that I got to get to.
A fast food restaurant you refuse to eat at.
Taco Bell. I got COVID from there.
A place that you've traveled to that you do not want to go back.
Oh, probably like East Texas or something like that. Oh, Lubbock, Texas.
Greatest women's basketball player of all time.
Angel McCoughtry. It's like, no, that's my favorite women basketball player of all time. But the greatest, I had to give it to Maya Moore.
If you could have an unlimited supply of one thing, what would it be?
Money. Money or time. Money or time.
When did you give your life to Jesus?
2013, December 15, 2013. Oh, how can I forget our birthday? My bad, man. Y'all didn't know, we're twins.
What is your favorite thing about yourself?
My grit and I don't give up, keep going. So okay. I love that about myself.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show, sir. You know, I don't normally do virtual interviews, but I had to make an exception for a man of your stature. So definitely appreciate you coming on, sir.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I've been waiting to be on here, so I'm happy. I'm happy.
Since the BOB podcast days.
Yeah, since the BOB podcast, I've been waiting.
It's been a long time coming.
It's like when you sign up for them for the raffle, and you keep checking to see if you're gonna get it. This is it right here. It's my lottery right here.
Yeah. Yo, that's amazing. All right.
We're gonna have to talk to the budget team though. We're gonna have to get me in person next time.
Yeah, you definitely flying out here. All right, cool. Let's get right into it. Born and raised in Italy, but you leave that to come to the U.S. at the age of 7. I feel like this is a story that a lot of people can identify with, at least from what you remember. What was that experience for you like coming to the U.S.?
It was definitely a culture shock, but it was also exciting at the same time. So I remember being young in Italy, and my parents, or my dad specifically, was like, we're going to move to the U.S., and he moved here first, actually. I just remember just being so excited, like I'm going to America, you know what I'm saying? You see all the TV shows, I'm going to eat hot dogs, I'm going to eat ketchup, I'm going to live in a hotel, like it's about to be lit, like, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't wait to eat ketchup. Yeah, like ketchup hotels and hot dogs. And yeah, I was just like very excited to get here. But then, you know, as a kid, you're not really thinking about like, you know, like you're gonna be living like in the hood, or like, you know, your family's gonna be building a whole new life, or like you're gonna be leaving everything behind. Like I didn't think that, you know, I wasn't gonna see my friends again, and I'm gonna be building a whole new life. So once I got here, it's definitely a culture shock. Definitely, I also didn't speak English, right? So I spoke Italian and Tree, which is one of the languages in Ghana. And so when I got here, I couldn't really speak with anybody. I couldn't communicate. And I was a black kid that spoke Italian. So everybody was confused. Like, who is this guy?
Stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. So it was very interesting. Most of my friends were Hispanic because Italian and Spanish was so close. So
you kind of understood them.
Yeah, just a little bit. So it was interesting. It was an interesting experience, but all in all, I could say it was great. I ended up making a lot of friends. I mean, America made me who I am.
You mentioned culture shock.
Mhm.
Do you remember a specific memory that sticks out? Wow, this is my coming to America moment, and I have no idea what I'm doing, or man, I really might not belong here. Did you have that moment?
I feel like I had a couple.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I feel like I had a couple
Let's
of
get into
those.
it.
Like number one, I mean, I definitely um I mean, the obvious one is like, just being black and
Right.
going to like other black people and they just like, who are you? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
We're
again,
not the
kid,
same.
yeah, we're not the same. Like,
There's levels to this blackness.
there's a kid, like, you're African, but you're not even speaking the African language. You know what I mean? It was like, they were like, you know what I mean? Who is this guy? So, I mean, I felt like, in Europe, you don't really have that. Like, if you're black, you're black. We're all kind of together, or usually like, they're African, or even if they were like raised there for a long time, or they have like, history there. They have like they tie themselves to like some type of culture. But here it was like Black American, which I never like really thought it was like much different, at least at that age. And
Right.
so yeah, just being like outcasted at first, that definitely was a culture shock. Uh, and then definitely just like things that you thought you see on TV that were cool, that wasn't a lot. I mean, they're there, but that's if you're rich.
Right.
Like
Right.
it's
Right.
right. Like, I wasn't gonna be living like Will Smith and his uncle and his auntie.
You thought you was gonna be like the Fresh Prince?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna be the Fresh Prince, man. Like, I came, I was like, yes, sir. Where Jeffrey at? And I ain't have no Jeffrey.
There's a
So
Jeff downstairs in the apartment.
yeah, it's about it. Yeah, and he was up to no good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I just that was a big shocker as well.
And then I want to touch on a little bit of the difference between the reality and what your expectation was coming, because you did say that you were excited about living in a hotel
Mhm.
and about the hot dogs. How did you find these hot dogs and these hotel experiences, or lack thereof?
Well, my first experience with a hot dog was the free school lunch. So, so I'll just let everybody just think about that for a quick second. So I was like, all right, that's
Were you
interesting.
on the free and reduced lunch?
I was all the
Oh
way
yeah,
till I graduated high school. I had the same pen. I had the same pen till I graduated high school.
I still remember my pen. It's
Me
crazy.
too. It was a couple
Man.
passwords. I changed them all, so y'all can't hack me. But yeah,
That's hilarious.
definitely. That pen was like my identity for a good minute.
Was your password for
Yeah,
your phone when you grew up?
yeah, it was everything, man. My favorite part was when they wished you happy birthday for like 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was.
They never stuck the extra applesauce or nothing
Yeah, never. It was
for your
just happy
birthday.
birthday. Just walk on. But I lost your question. What was your question again? I'm sorry.
Expectations versus
Oh,
reality.
yeah. So yeah. I mean, eventually, I ended up getting like good hot dogs. I'm not even a big fan of hot dogs anymore. I think it was just more the
Right.
aesthetic of just being American, right? And so I mean, it definitely didn't meet my expectation, right? America is just they sell a dream. If you've never been here and you live abroad, you're just thinking like this is the greatest place ever. So like, I mean, with expectations that high, you're never gonna meet them. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Nobody can meet that expectation.
yeah, nobody can meet that expectation. Like when you talk about like living in a hotel and like that type of lifestyle, that's just that's
It's
how money.
not
So yeah,
right.
it's not existing from where we were at. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. No, that's awesome. And we kind of touched on this a little bit. You speak in tweet. Your parents are from Ghana, and you were born and raised in Italy a little bit, and then moving to the U.S. and went through the school systems in Colorado. I would imagine that's a lot of different identities for a child to have to balance, right?
Yeah.
What was that for you? Like, how did you come into your own? How did Joel become Joel through the Italian side, the Ghanaian side, the American side?
It was tough. I mean, so like as a kid, I really like separated them. like I'll just be like Ghanaian Joel, and then I'll be like American Joel, I'll be like
Right.
Italian Joel, like you know what I mean. I just had like different
Depending on who
like
you talk to.
yeah, depending on who I'm talking to, what I'm around, where I'm going, you know. And different people see you different ways, right? I remember like, for example, like it took forever for me to be like I'm from Italy and people not even believe in that. Like people didn't
Right.
even like
It took
they were
me a
like
long time to believe that you were from Italy. I feel
yeah,
like
like everybody was like, no, you're not. Like it was just like an automatic no, like you know what I'm saying? So like it
had
was
to
a lot
carry
of
the passport around.
yeah, pretty much. So so yeah, like it was just tough to like have that identity. And then I because I moved here when so young and I didn't have a lot of people from Italy around me. I lost the language, most of it. So like I didn't really speak it. So like a lot of my friends back in Italy, I lost like touch with them. We couldn't really communicate anymore. And so because of that, it was you know that identity kind of like dwindled a little bit. But it's still you know I'm still Italian. Like I'm proud of it. But um,
Yeah.
it's more you know America, Ghana, you know, and thankfully Ghana, there's a lot of Ghanaians in Denver, or at least we're a close. Not want to say a lot, but we have a close community, and so I was able to you know have that all around me and be able to be around the culture and things like that. So, but in terms of coming into my own, I think that was more college, where it was just like you know being around just people from like different backgrounds. And I feel like everybody is just trying to learn everything and know everything and, you know, saying
Mm.
get to know people. And so that's where I was really able to like grow myself and build myself and be myself. And then obviously my identity in Christ, building that just kind of made me just be able to be like, I am who I am, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
that was like a very important part. Yeah.
And I can actually go on and on about different memories locked into my mind about my first few years in the US. I want to know if you have that specific memory that keeps playing over and over and over again.
Yeah, a couple of them. I remember first coming to the airport and then
Mhm.
driving. Like this is DIA. So imagine you just drive
Denver
back in the day
International.
though. So yeah, Denver International Airport. And then we went straight to Burger King because I had to get a burger, man.
From the
Because
airport?
no, yeah, from the airport straight to Burger King before we even went home. I was telling my parents like from the flight from Italy, I was telling my mom like we gotta try burger, we gotta try burger, we gotta try a burger. Like I want a burger. And
Yeah.
again, my dad already lived here, so
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, all he needed was Burger King. So
Right,
he
right.
drove me straight to Burger King. Got the Whopper. That was my first American meal. So shout out to
Number
Burger King.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually got the double Whopper. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I
Oh,
may have
you
got
was
the
living
double.
large. That
Yeah,
set the tone.
yeah, that set the tone, man. I was like, yeah, we gonna go big or go home.
He said America's gonna be all right.
So it was. I'm not gonna lie. From my memory, it was fire. Like I don't think I've ever had a Whopper that was that fire since the first one. So they're gonna have to work on that. But um,
Fire Whopper.
fire Whopper. That was my first experience in America.
But I do want to transition now into Colorado State University. You do get accepted and
Mhm.
you do decide to attend in fall of 2013. You go in there and get a degree in computer science, minor in business admin. What was that always the goal for you to go to school to become a software engineer, or when did that um, take plant in your heart?
I mean, that's a very interesting story. So in high school, mostly, I mean, you know, I was just going through the school system, just learning, trying to figure out whatever. You know, most of it was just like my parents like, you got to stay in school. So I was like, but I think so. I was undocumented. I don't know if many people know that, but I was undocumented all the way until up to like junior, like end of junior year, beginning of senior year. So I was taking the ACT. I didn't even know if I could. And back then there was no DACA, so that's context. So if you were undocumented, you couldn't go to like these universities like Colorado State and
Hmm.
you know, it's mostly community college or anything like that. But the introduction to like tech or anything like that was actually a program at Aurora Central High School, my alma mater. Shout out to Central. Um,
Hmm.
it They had a program with Community College of Aurora, which was like a networking course. And I was always good with numbers. Like math was like my thing. And so like I just was like I remember Miss Berry, shout out to Miss Berry and Mr. Roberts. They both were like, you
Shout
get
out
the
to Miss
numbers.
Berry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
shout out Miss Berry, shout out Mr. Roberts. Uh they were like the two counselors there, and they were like, you should just try this program. Like, why not? You're good at math. You're probably gonna be good at this tech thing, so try it out. I was like, they're like, it's gonna make a lot of money. It's the next big thing. But like, they sold me. I was like, all right, let's do it.
Visionaries.
Yeah, I know, right? And so I was like, cool. So I joined it. I turned out to be really good at it. I was like top in that class. We went to like a conference, and they had us like create we all had to like come up with an innovation. And I came up with it. Like, I did my like super last minute. I ended up winning out of like 500 kids. Yeah. So it was just like natural almost, like I just kept like building on it. And so then fast forward to get into Colorado State. So I just kind of had to like explore and kind of figure out a little bit of stuff on my own. But shout out to Ms. B. She really helped me out because I really leaned on her my freshman year to kind of just figure out how I was going to go about this college thing, figuring out my major and what I wanted to do. Yeah, Ms. Bridget Johnson. And so then I eventually came to the conclusion to try the computer science thing, right? Which is one thing she told me, like, see where it goes. And so I tried that. And then I also figured out there's a business minor. So even if, I do go with computer science, I could do the business minor. And so I tried it. I'm not going to lie, it was very hard. I got like first 2 courses, I got a C. So, but
that's discouraging.
Yeah, it's very discouraging. I almost failed the first one, but I just like, one of the things that kept me going is that it wasn't that like, it was hard, but it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. And I mentioned at the beginning, like, I'm just a person that just like keeps going. I don't, like to quit easily. Right. So I stuck with it, and then just kept getting better and better.
So now you're at Colorado State University, but you're coming from a high school that didn't necessarily have a lot of resources to set you up. A lot of great teachers, a lot of great counselors, but just their resource was not there a lot of the times, right? But now you're in this big school, Colorado State University, over 20,000 kids. How do you adjust? What was the biggest adjustment for you like?
I mean, the biggest adjustment was, just academics, the environment, and being a Black kid in a PWI. We're just like 2% Black people coming from a school that was like 80% plus Black. And so those are the biggest things, right? Like, I just coming onto that campus, not knowing what to expect, just being hit with like rigorous courses that didn't match anything that I was doing before, like in high school. And then also, like, I think the biggest challenge also was like, I felt behind. There was a lot of students that just like, I feel like had like taken like pre-calc and all these courses, and I came in, I didn't even know what calculus was. And again, I told you I was good at math, so so I didn't even know like what that
math different.
Yeah, this math different. So I didn't know. So like, it was just a big learning curve, right? And a big adjustment in terms of environment, how to be myself, how to just be around people, like, how to schedule my time, time management, how to find like fun things to do. Like, it was just a whole different environment. So I had to readjust who I was and how I thought, things like that.
Okay, now can you pinpoint one thing you're like, man, I really wish I knew about this going to college?
Definitely the coursework, how the coursework was going to be like.
Because you're getting all this free time. You're spending class time maybe 2 hours a day in class, maybe 10 hours a week in class, but the amount of work that you have, right?
It's like crazy, like more than that, like 40 for me. It was just 40 hours of just work outside of class. And don't get me wrong, like Central tried, like even with the big program. Yeah, I gotta give them a shout out a little bit, like, because being able to, like, they gave us BIF, right? And I was able to go to Colorado State University and then go to CERN and have that experience of a college kid as a high school kid during the summer. So like, it helped. But again, it's different when like all you know is one thing, and then you're just thrown into like something that's completely different, right? And I think the biggest thing though is really helping kids just know, or like try to figure out their passions and figure out what they want to major in. Because I feel like I wasted a lot of time in like the first year and a half, just trying to figure out like what would I even major in? What am I even doing? You know, I was just supposed to. I was just told to come here would be a good thing, but like what exactly? How do I plan this out? Like I think it's the planning of college. I think that's like been very helpful.
Just the time of the year that we're in right now, a lot of students are going back to school or they're going into college for the first time. What is something that students need to pay attention to?
The friends that they around. Yeah, the friends they around.
Say that again. Say that one more time.
The friends that they are around. Like, that's a very big thing. The environments they put themselves in. And then really paying attention to like finding a mentor or finding somebody, a support system, building a support system. I think it's like one of the biggest things. So pretty much people, I think, is the number one thing. People. And then number two would be just being intentional about yourself. Like, what do you want out of this? Who do you want to be when you get out of here? And like what?
There's not a lot of freshmen thinking about who am I or what do I be?
And that's the thing. That's if you can get that early on, like people and who do I want to be, like you're golden. Like you can really cruise through that really easily. Everything else is just gonna come.
And I want to take this a little bit further. What advice do you have for the parents? Like, how should they be there for their students? Especially, they might not understand the school system or how things might work in America, especially growing up in a foreign home, right? Our parents weren't always in tune. I mean, they cared for sure, but they don't know how to be there for us necessarily. Those are two different things.
My advice for parents is listening to your child, really like taking the time to like, when you say be there, you know, like, for me, I feel like it's mostly like having an ear because, you know, they don't have that experience. They don't really know what's going on. And they have great guidance. It just sometimes doesn't translate well because of that cultural, because the cultures are just so different. In terms of people that like are not from here, or even like if you're a first generation student, it's still like a barrier there, you know, like they don't really know what's going on. In college versus, you know, the environment that they're in, the parents are in. So I think just listening to the student and trying to understand like what they're saying and opening that door for them to like come to you and just like tell you what's going on, whatever they're struggling with, you know, whatever it is, just having them being able to tell you that is going to really give you more insight.
Property. I want to shift gears a little bit now to Joel Eshun, the real estate investor. Pivotal Properties is your real estate investment firm that you launched in 2019. I want to know what made you get into real estate investing, one, and two, what would you say was the biggest barrier?
So I'm gonna start with how I got into it. So I actually started at Colorado State, just learning about business at Colorado State. They had a real estate minor. I didn't end up doing that one, but I just had a lot of questions about it, and just, you know, I kept exploring and doing research by myself about the topic. And then I ended up meeting a Colorado State alum, Kevin Brown, who went to Colorado State, and is also a Royal Central alumni. So shout out to him. And he is in real estate. He's also in tech. And I was able to see like what real estate did for him. And I was also able to see like how the ins and outs of real estate was. And so while just, you know, being around him and working with him, like you can kind of say I was influenced a little bit, because he would always say like, hey man, as soon as you get out of here, get you a house. As soon as you graduate, get a house. He always say that, you know, and I never understood it really. Like I was like, why? Like, you know, but he just, you know, he would always talk about how he got this house. He rented it out with his college buddies, like some of the people that were still in college and some of his friends that had graduated, and he kept the home and he was able to sell it for like double, triple the value. And the whole time,
I was going to say, let's not call out numbers.
Oh, my bad. But you know, the whole time they were, you know, helping him pay for the mortgage. And so I was like, okay, at the time, right, I didn't really understand like I was like, I kind of got it. Like, okay, cool. Like, it's a
On the
cool thing.
surface.
But yeah, but I didn't really understand where. But I think towards graduation, like I said earlier, I've always been like interested in business and just building something and making sure that I built some type of wealth for my family, and then just making my money stretch. I kind of enjoy it, and once I moved to Texas post graduation, I was like full in almost. Like I was pretty much like, okay, I got this job. I'm going to this job every day, right? And I'm like, okay, the job is cool, but like, what am I doing for me? Like, what am I building for myself? What streams of income do I have? And like, is it, is the job the only thing? Like, what if I lose this job right now? You can say that was mostly influenced because my dad got laid off from one of his jobs. And I was just thinking, like, he was there for like 12 years. Like, right, 12 years working at this job, and they just laid him off just because new management came in and they just wanted to make some changes. So I'm like, okay, so like, what if that happens to me, So I'm like, I don't want to be solely relying on one thing. And so I decided to explore the real estate thing more and just doing more research, making more connections, and attending learning workshops and things like that. So that was my entry into real estate. And in terms of the biggest barrier was, I think the learning, but also just connections, right? When you walk in and you're just like, hey, I want to do real estate, like, especially now, like, it's like everybody wants to do real estate, right? So like, okay, cool. Like, so what? You know what I mean?
Take a number.
Yeah. And so I think that was like the biggest thing. You really kind of just have to show that you're serious.
Hey, this is just more for me, but have you ever had a tenant refuse to pay rent?
I have.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
How did you go
Twice.
about that? Wow, okay.
Yeah, twice. So the first time, I evicted him, but it was my first time. So yeah, like, you're out of there.
Yo, no 3 strikes?
No, you're out of there.
He said one and done.
Yeah, I am like a landlord who like loves to give second chances, and I'm very like, I could be flexible. I don't want to say very, but I could be flexible. I try to, meet people, and I treat people like people, not just like numbers on a spreadsheet or anything like that. So like, I definitely talked to them and all stuff like that, but they just had no interest in paying. Right, in this situation, it was just like a thing where like there was no way they were going to pay it.
He said, I only missed one, but I don't plan on making the rest either.
Yeah, but this was peak COVID, right? So I don't know how many people know about what happened during COVID, but they stopped evictions, right? They stopped evictions. They allowed tenants to be able to not pay. They were like, if tenants don't pay, this COVID thing happening, everybody's getting laid off, right? The case wasn't that this person was getting laid off. It was just like, they didn't get laid off. They just didn't want to pay the rent. But on top of that, they also broke the lease rules because there was no pets, and they had like 4 of them. So, right. So I told them to get rid of the pets. They were like, no. They were like, okay, then I'm just not gonna pay rent. So it was like more of that situation, right?
Okay, now I want to turn the page a little bit. I want to touch on this. I want to touch on your love for the WNBA now.
Yeah.
That is actually one of the most unique things about you is your love for the WNBA, and it's very admirable because it's not a love that is often professed by a lot of people, right? When did you fall in love with women's basketball?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say free Brittany Griner, hashtag free Brittany Griner. It's been way too long, man. I got a chance to see her last year.
You got a calendar where you're marking out the X's?
Yeah, man, it's been a while. Like, I seen her dunk. That was one of the first dunks I seen live in the WNBA. So like, I miss watching her play. Skylar Diggins is balling right now. So like, I know if Brittany Griner was on the team, they'd be definitely a championship contender. But to answer your question,
I don't know anybody else that breaks down the WNBA like that.
But to answer your question, so it started in middle school. But my basketball coach was a woman for 7th grade and 8th grade, and she coached both the men and women basketball team. And she actually was a WNBA fan. She played basketball, like basketball. She loved basketball, and so she would always watch WNBA, and she also watched the collegiate NCAA, and that's where really my love for women basketball started. Like she one time it was during the March Madness. You know, I'm just a basketball fan, so I'm just watching March Madness, the men's tournament, and she's watching the women's tournament. And I catch a game with her one time, and it was intense. Like it was interesting, and I enjoyed it. Right, so I started watching the tournament on my own whenever I was home, and it was Angel McCoughtry. So I mentioned that was my favorite player of all time. This was 2008. 2008, I want to say 2008, 2009. She played for Louisville, and she was just balling. Like Angel McCoughtry was balling, and Louisville, they went to the finals. I don't remember if they won or they lost. It's been a while, but yeah, I just remember just watching her, and she was just balling out, and so I fell in love with it. I was like, man, this is dope. I'm gonna watch this too. So you know what I mean? Like, so I watched the men's and the women's, and she ended up, you know, obviously graduating, getting drafted to the WNBA, and I just followed her. Like previous to that, like, you know, I knew who Candace Parker was. I knew who Lisa Leslie. I was just like the average Joe, like, you know, Candace Parker, Lisa Leslie. Like everybody knows Candace Parker and Lisa Leslie. If you don't know Candace Parker and Lisa Leslie, I'm gonna question your basketball IQ as in general. Yeah, after that, I followed Angel McCoughtry and to the Atlanta Dream, just in case anybody thinks I'm capping. I did. She got drafted by Atlanta Dream, and yeah, I just.
I don't know if anybody's going to be questioning. They don't know
how. Yeah, ever since then, I've just been watching it.
All right, let me ask you this. Have you ever lost any friends because of your love for the WNBA?
I don't think I've ever lost friends, but I've definitely lost friends temporarily in terms of like, hey, let's hang out. Yeah, like let's hang out. And everybody's like, yeah, let's hang out. And I'm like, I'm finna watch this WNBA game. And I turn around, all my friends is gone. Like it's like one of the cartoons. Yeah, like I've definitely
you see the ashes behind them.
Yeah, like I've definitely lost friends in the moment, like where they were just gone. I was just watching games by myself, you included.
All right.
How many times I tried to sit you down and watch a game?
Have I not been the most supportive friend you have in terms of your WNBA?
You have, but that's not saying a lot. the bar is like really low. Like you just gotta look up and you above the bar.
I pretend.
Yeah, like well, it took you a while. First, bro, I'm gonna air this story out. I remember like you were doing everything to avoid doing your homework. Everything. And then I was like, oh, this is WNBA game. Let's watch this WNBA game. And I promise you went to that room and did all your homework that night. You did all your homework, anything but to watch a WNBA game.
That was punishment. I can't watch it. I got homework. But I appreciate you using that to get me to do my homework.
Yeah, definitely. But now we watch WNBA though, right?
Mm-hmm. All right, so another transition in the show. I want to talk a little bit about your faith. So you have this full-time job. You manage a real estate investment firm. You follow the WNBA, and other creative projects are on the horizon as well. And then we also have to figure that you make time for your social life, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that you're a follower of Jesus. Very outspoken about your faith. First of all, how do you make time for all these things that you have going on? And secondly, how does your faith in Christ play into how you lead your life?
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of time doing everything, it varies based off the season, like whatever season I'm in. I will say, like, you know, I'm not like a time management guru. I'm not one of those people that's just like, I got it all figured out. I don't. But I do try to make time for all those things. I just try to break it down to what's most important and things like that. And then my faith is like everything, you know, like it's what keeps me going. It's what makes me who I am. And I think that's like the biggest thing where I just mentioned priority. I think that's like the number one. And there's times where like I slip on that. Like I put other things above that and I'm just doing like all these things and like you get distracted, right? but you always got to be at the core, because none of this matters, right? None of it is important if, I'll have Christ, or, if I gain the world. The Bible says if you gain the world but lose your soul, like, what was the point? And so um, I don't, I always try to center myself in that. And I think the biggest thing is a support system, having people that are just going to be able to be like, hey, this is the core. This is where we got to be at. This is, building that faith, with a group of people. And I think just like knowing what God's purpose is for me, and like what, and how I can live that out, I think those are the two things that, like, that's how it plays out, like, in my life, right? Like, what if I'm doing real estate, right? What is God's purpose in real estate? What is God's purpose in tech, right? And even like WNBA, what is God's purpose in WNBA? I think about that all the time. Like, you never know, like, why God planted that seed, right? I could very well be the guy that, like, helps the WNBA, and people like you, like, love the WNBA, because that's a thing.
It's God's will.
Yeah, it's God's will that it got to be done. You know what I mean? But yeah, like, I think that's how it plays out, into my day to day, in terms of those things. But it's who I am, right? It's my identity. I am a child of God, and I love Christ. I live for Christ. And yeah, that every day that looks like different, and every day is like a journey, but it's not like a negative thing. It's a good thing, right? That I have that relationship and I have that access. So
yeah. No, that's awesome. Do you have an advice for somebody starting their journey with Christ?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I have a lot of advices, but one big thing is
one, yeah.
Yeah, one big thing is don't play with it. Don't, like, really, like, when you say, I'm giving my life to Christ, like challenge that. Like, what does that look like for you? And just do it. Don't. I feel like for me, for example, I feel like I gave my life to Christ, but then I was kind of like, ooh. I kind of like started doubting myself a little bit, right? Don't doubt, because I think
the right time.
Yeah, was it the right time? Yeah, like, maybe I could have done a little bit more before I made that decision. Maybe I could have, you know what I mean? Like, and that's the devil, though. That's like, he's like, oh, no, like, you know what I'm saying? So I think really just press into it.
Yeah, old people religion.
And exactly, I think that's a big one. Like, you start thinking about, like, oh, like, no, like, I can do it later. I got time. No, like, it's
the day for salvation is
now. Yesterday. Yesterday. So, like, yeah, like, I think don't play with it. Just step into it, right? And just grow, right? And then I feel like when you first give your life to Christ, past that little bit of doubt, you're really on fire. Like, you're like, oh, like, I did this. I think really just continue it to be consistent, and then giving yourself grace. I think a lot of people, once they get to that, the first time they give their life to Christ and they're on it, then something happens, or they think they have to be perfect, and then they're not, right? And then something, like, and it just throws them off, or like throws a dent in the relationship. I think give yourself grace, lean into God's grace, and continue to build, and just keep going. Like, you fall 7 times, rise 7 times. I think that's the biggest thing.
And I love that you said that, because when you do come to Christ, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking everything is going to be butterflies and rainbow, right? But you will get tested. Mm-hmm. But knowing that the test of your faith produces endurance, that's the thing that keeps us going, right? That's awesome. Is there, do you have a favorite verse or a story from the Bible that you want to leave us with?
Yeah. So my favorite verse is Proverbs 3, 5-6. And it paraphrasing is just pretty much it says, lean not on your own understanding, because God will direct your paths, and he knows, your future. I think that's a big one for me, because I usually get really anxious about my future, or like, just little things try to, like, I got a devil that just tries to, like, make me very anxious about certain things. And I had to lean on Christ and really be like, he knows why he put me here. He knows my path. and I can't lean on myself, because I sometimes try to like lean on myself, like I got to figure all this out, but I don't, right? God, God has it figured out already. He already won the battle. The war is gone, like it's over, like he won. You know what I mean? So like, I just have to trust him, and lean on him, and that's a big one. I think that's a big one for our generation for sure, because there's a lot of things out there that just make you feel like anxious, like you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, stuff like that. So.
All right, appreciate you, Joey. It's been real. Definitely thank you for coming on the show. But actually, before we get out of here, is there anything that you want to get off your chest? Anything that we have not covered that you wanted to release?
Yeah, I want to ask you some questions.
No, actually. This is it. Appreciate everybody for tuning in.
Who is your favorite WNBA player of all time?
It's so hard to choose, man. Like, how do you choose between all these greats?
Yeah, but you gotta choose one.
Man, wow.
You know what? Give us 3.
3? Oh.
Yeah.
I definitely gotta go Maya Moore.
Yeah.
She's number 1. Skylar Diggins.
Oh, Diggins Smith, yeah.
Diggins. Oh, she did get married. And the third one, it's really up there. I don't know. You can really put anybody in there.
Like who?
Name any of the All-Stars that we just had. Any of them, you can plug them in there. I think they're all great. I think it says a lot about us that we're trying to pit these women against each other. I think we should all appreciate their greatness for what it is. You know what I mean? So I think we should stop doing comparisons.
I think you put number 3 like Michaela, right? Michaela from New York, because she's from Aurora. So like I think
possibly. I mean, you can't go wrong with Michaela.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, all right, Joe. I don't know who these people are.